Today I'm working on my solar system stuff, and I'm doing a battery switch mod that I want to show you guys. And so here's the nitty gritty. So this is my basic solar diagram that I'm using to wire into my RV. And one of the things that I wanted to do on it was actually be able to switch my house loads from my original lead flooded batteries, which are still under the camper in the frame rail. I wanted to be able to use those for loads, but I also want to be able to use the power that's coming from my solar charger as loads. So I decided I needed a battery switch that would actually allow me to create a switch that would never join between 1 and 2. And you probably know what I mean, because a lot of these battery switches that you get from Amazon and whatever else, these things will allow you to turn off your loads. They'll allow you to use battery number 1. They'll allow you to use battery number 2. And most of them will also say on the top that you connect 1 and 2 together. I don't want to connect the 1 and 2 together because I'm going to use this as a load switch. So I'm going to switch my loads between the solar output and the old lead batteries. Now I already have a setup here for my lithium and my inverter, and this is all separated on my solar charger. But I wanted a switch that would disconnect my solar charger from the load and reconnect my old flooded batteries. Using this switch, I decided that I would take the 1, 2, and both switch and then modify it to do this job. So I took the whole thing apart. It was quite a feat, actually. They are essentially waterproofed and dustproof, which is really nice. There's O-rings everywhere, and that makes them really good protection against the weather. Now you'll see that this is the way that this is made. Is you have your common post here, and then you have your line 1 input and your line 2 input. And I needed to somehow modify this so that these two could never be put together. The 1 and the 2 would never be connected. It would be 1 or off or 2, and never both. So I took the screws out of the back. There's 4 simple screws in the back. These 4 are just Phillips head, pretty regular standard stuff. And I took the 4 screws out. And then behind this, you will find the actual switch unit, which is a piece of solid stamped copper. And it sits on like this. And then you will find a spring. And then on top of the spring, you'll find the actual detent. And then this whole thing will fit right into this. And that would just go on like that. You add the screws. Now on the other side of the equation, there's the knob. The knob has the directional arrow on it, and it also has a 4-way key inside. There's a 4-sided key and this locking collar. And the locking collar fits over top of the brass and locks this on so that the knob doesn't fall out. So what I had to somehow figure out was how I was going to get this whole system to eliminate the both 1 plus 2 that was on top here. And I discovered by taking it apart that the knob has a circle underneath it with no detent. And then the actual battery housing has a really solid piece of molded dented detent plastic already on it. So what I decided to do is actually map that out. And I drew a little line around the outside of my switch knob to find out where in relation to this plastic detent on the base, where was the switch head. So I drew the detent here in position 1. I drew the detent again in position 2, which is off. I drew the detent again in position 3, which is now the second battery. And then I drew a line from the detent all the way around to where it would have been onto the both battery system. And that line I then filled in underneath with a piece of 3D printed plastic that I just designed on my CAD, and then I 3D printed this on my home printer. And this will now actually stop the switch head from turning in that whole section, because there's already a detent lock on the base. So now what I've got is a switch that cannot go past number 1. It can't go that far. But it can still go to off, and it can still go to 2, but it cannot go over 2. So that simple switch mod allowed me to use this as a 1 off and 2 load switching switch. That's all that this will do now. I can no longer use it to connect both the batteries as it was used originally. So I cut the sticker off with my X-Acto knife, and I took off the 1+2 sticker part that was up here in the green. And now I've got my 1 or 2 or off load switch. Very happy about that. I'm simply going to reassemble it now, and then I'll have my 12-volt load switch right here. And that will allow me to disconnect my loads from the solar charger or the original flooded batteries. And then I will be able to run my loads from one or the other only, and the flooded batteries and the solar load side will never connect. Perfect. Thanks for watching. Well, I hope this little video helps you out with your own RV solar projects, and it'd be great to hear from you. And so enjoy the show, and we'll catch you on the next one.